We're all familiar with storytelling. We've likely been exposed to it from an early age. But what if I told you storytelling is actually a really powerful tool that can be used to teach, sell, or convince somebody of your idea? You see, when you present facts and information to someone, you activate the language processing part of their brain. But when you format that same information as a story, you activate multiple parts of their brain, such as motor, sensory, emotion, and frontal cortex. When you tell someone a story, you engage more of their brain. In fact, studies have shown stories can plant ideas, thoughts, and emotions into a listener's brains. And stories are the only way to activate parts in the brain so that a listener turns the story into their own idea and experience. In marketing, they found that people accept ideas more readily when their minds are in story mode. That's why we recommend learning how to write and tell a good story. You can use stories for your presentations, class assignments, or for pitching business ideas, negotiating, or selling. Stories are written very differently from information and have a flow and form. Here's an example. You'll hear two passages about the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. The first is just straight facts and information.
Dahmer committed his first murder in Bath Township, Ohio in 1978. A second murder followed in 1987, and during the next 5 years he killed, mostly in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, another 15 boys and young men, who were for the most part poor and African American, Asian, or Latino.
The second is written in a story format.
On page 98 of Jeffrey L. Dahmer's Ohio High School yearbook is a photograph of 45 Honor Society students lined up shoulder to shoulder, their hair well combed, their smiles confident. One senior, 3 rows from the top, has no smile, no eyes, no face at all. His image was blacked out with a marking pen, reduced to a silhouette by an annoyed student editor before the yearbook went to the printer. That silhouette was Mr. Dahmer in the spring of 1978, a couple of months before he says he killed his first victim with a barbell. It was 13 years before he confessed to one of the most horrific strings of slayings in modern times.
So hopefully you notice the difference between the two. The first one was just informative, while the second one drew us in with the tension it created. You wanted to hear more. So how do you write a story? Well, to get started, you could use something like this. Remember this? Maybe from English class in high school? It's the dramatic arc, and it's the typical format for many short stories, books, and films. First, you have your exposition, where you introduce the story. And often, you'll find a dramatic question that will be a teaser to lead your viewers throughout the story. It's the, will Indiana Jones get to the Ark before the Nazis? Or will both Rose and Jack survive the sinking of the Titanic? Then you have your rising action, where excitement builds for your viewers and readers, all the way up to the climax. This is the big pivotal event in your story. And then falling action, leading to a resolution. Whatever you do, make sure your story has some sort of emotion, whether it be funny, heartwarming, passionate, sad, whatever. An emotionless story will fall completely flat. One last tip, get to the point. Say only what you need to say to tell your story, and then don't say any more. Writing a story takes practice. Some people devote their entire lives to the craft, so don't worry if it's not Shakespeare on your first try. Just start by creating a simple outline using the dramatic arc and go from there. You can see examples of awesome stories in the links below.